Hello, everybody, and welcome to the RE Technology and Point 2 RE Techinar, turning your MLS into a powerful marketing engine for your members. We're really excited to have you guys here today. We've got some really neat things to show you and some great people that have some experience I hope that you will learn a lot from. So let's just get into it. Okay, so first I just wanted to introduce who's going to be speaking to us today. I am Marilyn Wilson. I'm one of the founding partners of Wave Group. We're a consulting firm that does a lot of work with MLSs, and I particularly have looked a lot at the whole idea of consumer websites and have a lot to say about that. And secondly, I'm also the co-founder of RE Technology, which is why I'm helping you today. Then we have three great association leaders. We have Hart, who's from the Santa Barbara Association, a beautiful part of the world, right up the street from where RE Technology is located. And then we have Walt Bukowski in San Francisco, and I'm sure many of you know him. And then third, we have Ryan Conrad, who's the Chief Executive Officer for the Lehigh Valley Association in Pennsylvania. So welcome, everyone.
Thank you.
So what we're going to just kind of quickly walk you through what we're going to talk about today, then we're going to jump right into it. So first, I'm just going to give you a quick update on sort of the state of, not even the industry, but as much about what's going on with MLS websites. Then we're going to really turn it over to Bob and Walt and Ryan to give us, real-life perspective on how this works. And then we'll give you some examples of some of the neat things that can happen with consumer search portals if you're looking to upgrade or to get into the business for the first time. So let's just jump into my slides. So here's the first thing that's really been, that I've noticed over the past several years. We've been studying this topic since about 2005. And we're seeing a lot of things that are driving interest in the whole concept of MLS websites now. The first one is that many MLSs and associations are starting to feel like they have an obligation to provide, not necessarily even an alternative, but in addition to the other third-party sites that are out there. Because we know that agents and brokers provide the most accurate data and really collaborate and cooperate well on many other fronts, and many see the opportunity to generate leads and listing exposure as just another place for them to cooperate. And there's many MLSs now that also believe that they can and should and really need to help their members be successful. It's not enough anymore just to provide services that have kind of been ongoing. It has to be about helping a member really generate interest in their business and also ultimately create relevance for the MLS and the association. And this is another area that's had a key, sort of change of heart. That many times when we would talk to associations, we would hear people say, well, it's not really the role of the association to talk to the consumer, that's really the role of the member. And I don't think anybody would disagree with it, that ultimately the core relationship that has to be built with the consumer has to happen at the agent level and at the broker level. But what many MLSs have now said, in fact, about 75% of, actually it's more like 90% of the largest MLSs now all have a website that they've focused on or even are planning one. But what it says is that we can help generate interest to help our members actually be successful. So we want to help them generate business without hurting the core mission of the association. Basically what we're doing is helping our agents by creating a connection that helps them with their business and one that they can control. And interestingly, many of the MLSs out there now have websites, like I say, or are planning one, even ones that are owned by brokers, because historically sometimes there's been pushback that, well, large brokers say that we're leveling the playing field and this is a bad idea. A lot of that is changing now, which is really why it's a great time for you to take a look at this idea and either upgrading one or creating your own website for the first time. So Association and the Source MLS group asked Wave Group to talk to consumers about, what is the role and what's the relative value of websites that are provided by third parties versus MLSs and things like that. And what you saw here, as you can see, is that almost 50% of the people prefer the MLS sites to other third-party sites. Some, of course, use both, and there's lots of people that do that. And very, very few didn't know the difference between an MLS and a third party, which was interesting. A lot of them understood the word MLS meant accuracy. It meant it was the, quote, good stuff, the stuff that comes from agents and brokers and they're the ones that contribute to it. And so they see a clear need for it. And what was very interesting with this research was that we also saw that people that were purchasing homes or selling homes were much more likely to be using MLS websites than those that were earlier on in the process or that were just kind of looking around. And if you look at the amount of traffic that's being generated online relative to the amount of buyers, there's obviously a significantly more traffic than there is buying. But when we look at people that are looking at MLSs, they tend to be people that are more serious. They're a little bit more connected, and they're likely to be more likely to be positive, leads and people that are really interested in buying or selling. Okay, next one. Now, why do they like MLS sites? And this is really important to think about when you're looking at which type of a site you're going to buy. Number one is it's easier to use. And number two is information is more comprehensive and up to date. So you'll see in what we're going to show you today that a lot of the data that's included in Point Two's websites are very, very comprehensive. And all of that creates a trust factor that's not just only a trust for the property search itself, it's also creating a halo effect of trust of the association and, of course, the realtors that contribute to it in the local level. There's also a perception that these sites have the best data because it's coming from realtors, which, of course, is true. They are more accurate. They are more up-to-date. They are more current than other sites. And they also appreciate the fact that it's localized to their own preferences and to their own region. Starting at a national site when you only want to go to one market can be somewhat cumbersome. So there's a lot of good reasons to think about it, but the basic bottom line is people that are more serious buyers and more serious sellers are more likely to use MLS sites. Okay, so this is just kind of a quick overview because sometimes what we hear is, well, brokers say that these sites are competitive with ours. And the reality is that when we all know this, whenever we search for something, we don't go to one site, we go to many, many sites, right? But there's sort of two different relationships with the consumer that I wanted to help us understand. The first is that when we're early on in the process, and when consumers are early on in the process, a lot of them will tell us they want to do their own research. They want to learn about the product or the neighborhoods, interest rates, et cetera, before they engage with an agent. Not because they don't want to work with the agent, but because they want to come to the table prepared. They feel embarrassed if they don't know enough about the market. They also are sometimes at the place where they're not yet ready to buy. It's kind of like if you walk into a store and somebody immediately tries to sell you something. You say, no, I just want to look around a little bit first. That's a lot of times when consumers are using third-party sites. But the nice thing about MLS sites is that when they do find something that may be of interest to them, they can reach out to that specific agent. And on MLS websites, it's going to be the actual listing agent, where on other sites that may not always be the case. Now, once these sites, work, the industry works together in the local market to provide this information. What it has a tendency to do is then push people sort of down the sales funnel, if you will, over to broker and agent websites. So once someone's figured out that they want to work in Noe Valley in San Francisco, then what they might do is then they would engage with one of the great brokers that are in the San Francisco area or one of the great agents there to actually engage in the process of buying and selling. So that's really how to think about it. If someone says, well, it's a direct competition, it's really not. They serve different purposes. And for simplicity's sake, third-party sites, including MLS sites, are research sites, and broker and agent sites are more where we actually transact business. And there's another really important development that's happened over the last couple of years. Some of you may have heard about it, but it was led by the Realty Alliance and many of the largest brokers in America. And they created this program they called the Fair Display Guidelines. And what the Fair Display Guidelines were really intended to do is sort of set the rules about if, in fact, an MLS or an association is going to have a website, what are the kinds of things that brokers would like to see them do with it. And they're pretty logical, and frankly, everything that you're going to see today follows all of these. But the first one is that there was concern, well, what if an MLS starts to sell featured listings or makes me pay extra money to be part of it, and that type of thing. So if you're going to follow Fair Display Guidelines, you can't really do that. You also have to share the leads that are generated and the listing activity that's generated with the broker. Brokers have to have the option to be able to opt out if they'd like to, and that at some level they can maintain the control of the data, meaning that because it goes to this site doesn't mean that you have permission to push it to other sites or to third parties. It's really a separate program. So again, really important to think about, especially if you're in a situation where you're trying to build stronger relationships with brokers. To follow Fair Display Guidelines is definitely going to help make the process work more smoothly for you. And frankly, there's really no reason not to. All of the requests on it are very fair. As I said, fair display, they are very fair. Okay, next slide. Okay, so just a quick overview on who Point Two is, and then we're going to jump into it. So this is a company that's for any of you that work with them already or that are aware of them, they have a strong commitment to the industry. They're very much, driven by industry insiders, people that have been around for a long time. The company started back in '96 and then started working in our industry in 2002. And they provide a broad spectrum of online marketing services for agents, brokers, and MLSs and associations. So they have a really good perspective on kind of how all types of online marketing works. And so they're bringing that to the table to help MLSs. And unlike some other groups, they actually built this system from scratch, thinking about associations and MLSs. Others did not do that. So you'll see functionality here that really makes sense and is really designed specifically for the unique needs of MLSs. Of course, they have a consumer MLS search portal, which we're going to show you. And they're working with many associations now around the country, generating leads and listing activity and exposure for their members as well. Okay, so before we start, we're going to ask you a couple of questions just to get a sense of who's on the call today. And these are going to come up on the screen, and we're going to ask you to answer them. I'll give you a second. So the first question is, do you currently syndicate listings for your members? In other words, do you use a program like Point2 or List Hub, or sometimes people even do it on an individual basis? If you could answer that for us, yes or no, that would be great. And then we'll show you the results in a second. Okay, now if we can go to the next question. Through one of your MLS vendors or something you've built with a local developer, but just getting a sense of how many people are already in the game or how many are considering going forward with it in a few months. I'll give you a minute to answer that one too. Okay, so it looks like many of you already have a site, which is great. Just a few don't, and but a few of you are looking at launching in the next 6 months. So we'll be focusing then on talking about ways to make the current site that you have even better. So thank you very much for answering that. That gives us a good sense of who's on the call today. Okay, I'm going to introduce you to our participants, our panelists. Our first panelist today is Bob Hart, and he's the Association Executive for the Santa Barbara Association. He's got a terrific group of realtors and really kind of in a luxury market. If you think about Santa Barbara and you think about people like Oprah and many movie stars have their second homes there. So he has to have a level of sophistication in his marketing efforts that are really important and really match the type of quality of homes that he's focusing on. Walt Bukowski is in another amazing market in San Francisco, and he's the Chief Executive Officer there. That's an interesting market because it's a city and has tons of little niche-y little markets. So it has to have a level of granularity that you really don't always need in other parts of the country, but we'll talk about that in a minute. And third, we have Ryan Conrad. He's the Chief Executive Officer from Lehigh Valley in Pennsylvania. And he's got an interesting market, probably more of a more traditional suburban, even rural market compared to the other two. So we're going to kind of talk about how the sites that they've used are working in all those different types of locations. Okay, let's go first. So if all of you guys could unmute, that would be great. I'm going to ask you a few questions. So maybe we'll start with you, Walt. Did you have a consumer portal in San Francisco before you launched the current one that you're using with Point2?
We had several different portals in San Francisco previously, all of which were not very good. One was tied with the MLS, one was a membership portal, and they were not very good. They were not meeting members' needs whatsoever. We were pretty much universally panned before we put this site up.
Gotcha. And Ryan, how about you in the Lehigh Valley? What was that like there?
We did. We've had a public MLS site since about 2002, and it really became a place where consumers turn to as a reliable source of accurate data. But when we transitioned to a newer MLS platform, that public-facing search site was downgraded pretty significantly, and as a result, we lost a lot of consumers that would otherwise have been coming to our site. So we needed to find another site, and which is one of the reasons why we looked at point 2.
And how did you know that you lost them? Was it just looking at traffic, or did you get complaints from people, or how did that work? Did consumers tell you that, hey, where did my site go, or how did that work?
Yeah, it was a mixture. It was a mixture of the clicks and activity on the website, so website traffic. But we also did get a pretty decent amount of phone calls and emails to our association on a regular basis saying, what happened to the search capabilities? Why can't I find a site? Why is this so cumbersome? Are you guys going to improve this site? Because otherwise I'm not going to look here anymore.
So it's interesting that, I think sometimes as associations and as MLSs, we kind of forget that we really are serving the needs of consumers. It's probably a bit of a reality check when you get those calls, huh?
Absolutely.
Gotcha. Okay, and Bob, tell us about your situation. Did you have one before? Did you launch this for the first time, or how did that work?
We did have a site, and we felt it was a pretty good one, and we weren't actually looking for anything new, but then found out about the point 2 site and said, oh, let's take a look at that. I think that's going to be better than what we're currently using.
And what was it about theirs that kind of attracted you to say, wow, this is worth taking a serious look at it?
We'd been having our agents complaining a lot about the third-party aggregators that are out there that were, getting a lot of profits off of their data and things. And saying, we've got to find out a way to do better than them. So we wanted something that was going to be as robust, as full and rich of information, something that's easy to navigate, that's real consumer-friendly. And once we saw the point 2 site, we said, well, that's a much better site than what we're running now, and we better make a change.
Got it. Okay. So maybe we'll start with you on this one, Ryan. When you're thinking about, and this is really for the audience, has everybody on it, I guess, is, somewhere considering maybe the idea of something new or just looking around to see what's available. Today, in today's market, obviously web development has changed a lot over the last several years and continues to change aggressively. What are the kinds of things that you looked at and when you were researching for a consumer portal? What are the kinds of things that they really you think people need to look out for today?
Sure. Well, we had primarily 3 objectives when we started searching. The first was we really wanted to improve the end user experience, make it an easy to navigate site so that they can easily find what they're looking for. And the second thing that we were looking at is we wanted to try and find a way that we can connect consumers directly with our realtor members and their brokers. And then the third reason really was we wanted to promote the importance of working with a professional realtor and also get consumers to better understand why the MLS as a source of data is the most reliable source of information that they should be using. So we needed a professional look. We needed a clean look that was easy to navigate. One of the critical elements for us was also something that had responsive web design capabilities where no matter what platform or tool they were using, they can see and easily navigate and find what it is that they were looking for. And then finally, of course, was cost. That was really important to us. The less expensive alternative would be great, but we also didn't want to sacrifice capabilities as well.
Gotcha. Okay, and Bob, did you look for anything different, or actually, let's go to Walt on this one we just talked about. Well, when you were looking for a site, what were the kinds of things you were looking for? Because you're right next door to Silicon Valley, so you've got pretty sophisticated viewers up there. What kinds of things were you looking for?
Well, the main things that we were looking for in a site is, one, it had to be robust, that it had to have all the information that we could possibly have to be able to make it a site that everybody's going to use. And understand our market is very different here. Our average days in the market, I think, is up to 31 now, and median price property is about 1.1 million. Now, we get multiple offers all the time, so the biggest advantage of our site is, one, it has to be always updated. Secondarily, it has to have a lot of information that the consumers need right at their fingertips. It has to have the tax information, and if you look at our site, we have bike routes and travel plans and a lot of different information. Also, we've added videos for every single neighborhood because we're broken up into a lot of districts here in San Francisco. So we had to have information on every district because somebody coming into San Francisco, it depends. I mean, we ask them questions like, do you like fog or not like fog? How close do you want to be to work, and that type of thing. So we provided more information for the consumers. Point 2 was tremendous on helping us with that. And again, this is all to be able to help make sure the consumer is a little better educated so they go to a realtor, then they can look at the home, they can click directly on the realtor's link, and they're a little more knowledgeable, so they're not coming in, taking a lot of time. We typically get between 14 and 30 offers on every home. So the better educated the consumer is coming in, the quicker the realtor can work with them, find the property, and get them the place they need.
Got it. Okay, and so we know that it's not always a cakewalk to, even if you have a site, which it looks like many of you do, to upgrade. A lot of times we hear, as a Wave group, we hear a lot of times, well, it's okay, you've got one. It's sort of, you got a check mark, but don't touch it. Don't make it really good, because once you do that, then I'm going to be nervous. Did you guys face any of those kinds of challenges, or did you face any other types of challenges when you were, going to upgrade? Maybe, Bob, we can start with you on that one.
Sure. Let me just throw one little thing in, too, when we're talking about what we're looking for, and that was
Sure.
The site need to be mobile friendly.
Okay.
Because the consumers are using mobile devices more and more, and so Point 2 site is wonderful on a cell phone, as an example. Some of the challenges, yeah, we were concerned about some of the challenges of how well it's going to be adopted by our membership and things, and so I met with the brokers of every office that had at least 25 members or more in it, and just got their feeling for it. Do you want us to be doing this? Do you want us to reach out and put out a consumer-facing site? And I had every office but one saying absolutely, that we think it is a benefit to our members. So that was an important thing. On the staff side and the challenges, it was going to my MLS director and saying, we're going to change this. And she goes, and what do you want me to not do? Where am I going to get the time to do this?
Yeah.
And fortunately, it wasn't a real-time consuming process. I mean, there's obviously things we have to do on our end, but it went smoothly to where it wasn't an overly burdensome process.
Gotcha. Well, Ryan, you're kind of in the midst of this, just launching. Any struggles or challenges that you had that you got through or are getting through?
Well, fortunately, we've had a site for a while, which helped with the buy-in. But when we were exploring this, when we initially started exploring this, this was at the time of when the, there was a lot of focus on, should MLSs be in this business or not? So it created a little bit more attention than maybe we would have normally expected. So we had some of the typical challenges that we expected. Primarily, what you addressed during the beginning of the presentation with regards to the fair display guidelines. Those are the essential elements that some of our brokers especially raised, and we were pleased to be working with Point 2 on this because we knew, in fact, they were complying with the fair display guidelines. There wasn't going to be any upsells. There was not going to be any positioning of other agents, on their listings. The leads were going to go directly back to the brokers. There was no middleman. There was no ups or charge for that. So those essential elements were critical for us to win over the support. But overall, I would say that our membership, having a history of having a public site, took to it probably pretty well, maybe compared to others might.
Gotcha. And you bring up an important point about fair display guidelines. One of the things that we hear sometimes from MLSs is, I'm just going to use a local developer because it'll be, for whatever reason, they have a relationship with them, or I don't know why, but there's a lot of different reasons. And a lot of times what we find is people abandon that idea for two reasons. One is once somebody tries to figure out how to connect data into a site, they realize that that's a pretty cumbersome process. And the other is that they just don't have the sensitivities to the market that someone like a Point 2 has. So a lot of people, seem to come back to working with industry-centric providers ultimately. And just one quick question, then we'll jump into some other things. Are there any advice or tips that you'd give to organizations that are, in the midst of thinking about relaunching, or that may be coming at this for the first time? Maybe Bob, any thoughts for us on that?
Nothing much more than just make sure you get the buy-in from your brokers and members. That
Okay.
we're doing this for them, and make sure that you have good open communication and discussion with them.
Okay. And Walt, any lessons that anything else that you would suggest that someone do as sort of best practices about how to make the most out of this opportunity?
Yeah, I would absolutely recommend that you go out and you meet with your top 10 brokerages right away and talk with them. And then also just have some open forums with your members to talk to them about what the goal is here, why we're doing it, how the leads are going to be built out, how it is not interfering with their business, how it is helping to educate the buyer. And again, explain to them why we're doing this. And again, when I went to the brokers, if I didn't get at least 90% buy-in, I wasn't going to do it. So I didn't want to run into a situation where the brokers are feeling threatened by what the association is doing. Universally, 100% of our brokers all loved the idea. I showed them a demonstration of what we were looking at, and they thought it was They thought it was great. So making sure going out and talking to the members and brokers is a step that I would absolutely encourage.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I have fortunately and unfortunately been involved with markets where when you do it the way you just described, it works great, and when you don't, it doesn't. So I totally agree with what you guys are saying. Okay, let's jump into the next slide. So, you know, let's just kind of do a gut check. So you guys have been at it now for a little while. How's it working? I mean, what are you seeing? Are you seeing the kind of results that, and are your members giving you feedback on it? Are they feeling good about it? Maybe we'll start with you on that, Walt.
Well, in fact, I just looked at a sheet in front of me, and for the last month I have data for visits, it's over 74,000, unique visitors over 59,000, and over 222,000 page views. That's quite an accomplishment in my book. Particularly, remember, San Francisco is only 7 miles by 7 miles. We have a lot of people that just like to, I think, just come in and search, see what the properties are really going for here. But it's just showing me we have a tremendous amount of activity, a lot of people coming on the site looking and getting information to help prepare them for their home search, which I think is tremendous and exactly what we were looking to do.
That's great. And Bob, what's your been experience? Are your members giving you feedback? Or are you seeing good traffic for your listings as well?
You know, as we've been going through this process, I've been learning something, and that is I need to be reaching out to my members even more. And that there are some features in the program and things that our members don't even realize exist. And therefore, the more we can educate them, the more they'll educate their clients, to bring more traffic to the site, and we'll just keep growing that way. But I'm looking at this and saying, we're doing well, we've got a good site, but I need to be doing more outreach to our offices and things to really show them the demos of what this thing's capable of. I don't think all of our members really get it yet, and I need to work harder on that.
I'm going to jump in. We don't normally do this, but there's a question that's kind of relevant. We just got a panel or a question from the audience. How many developers did you guys vet before deciding on working with Point 2? Maybe I'll just walk down the line. Ryan, you're just in the midst of it. So did you look at several and then come back to Point 2, or how did that work?
We did look at several, and this kind of goes back to some of the tips and advice that we would provide, that I would provide personally. Is this became an element of our strategic plan, you know, to get for our board to buy into the concept that we knew we needed this. So that gave us the charge to go ahead and dig in, do the homework from a staff standpoint, and do the research. So we did look at several, and as I mentioned earlier, some of the points that were important to us that really brought Point 2 to the top ultimately was the responsive web design. And number two, the cost. If we were able to provide or find technology that could be basically for free and essentially make us money potentially, that was obviously really important to us, and that's what Point 2 was able to provide. And then third, we really wanted to find a company that was realtor or real estate friendly, you know, the realtor, real estate industry friendly, so that we knew that the company we'd be working with isn't a local web designer, is a company that understands the industry, the intricacies, and we knew that Point 2 brought those to the table.
Gotcha. And Bob, what about you? You have lots of good, strong developers in the local Santa Barbara market. Did you do the same thing? Did you look at many, or how'd that work?
You know, we had our previous site, which, as I had mentioned earlier, we thought was actually a pretty good site, and then saw Point 2 and said, look how much better this is, and we just went with it. We did not start interviewing others and saying what other options are out there. We just saw this site and said, man, this is great. This is something we have to have. So I let you know, Ryan and Walt and others do all the research to pick the right one, and I just followed suit.
So you guys on the call, just follow these three guys, and you're done. It'll be easy.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, let's jump to the next slide, please.
I can tell you from my standpoint that I think that every realtor in San Francisco has a friend that's a developer. So I had to wade through quite a bit and had to make sure that they were all vetted pretty well. So even though I had a relationship with Point 2 and liked them, it still was a vetting process that we went through. The thing that was really important to me, I think Brian has mentioned this a couple times, the liquid layout, the ability for it to size to any type of mobile device or a pad or whatever. Secondarily, the volume of information that's available from Point 2, the way they put it together. And again, if you click on the maps, and you can see it's very important in San Francisco to know where your transit stops and the bike routes are on the site. And I found that whenever you a lot of people say, yeah, we can put a site together for you, but when you start to ask, well, it's going to be okay, extra cost, extra cost, extra cost. What Point 2 did, I think is tremendous.
Yeah, and one piece of advice I would lend for all of you guys on the call is write down what it is that you want. go to these sites, go to the ones that you like, and write down the features that you really want, because you'll get surprised if you don't. You'll think that because somebody's a good developer that they include it, and as Walt just said, they won't, and it's going to cost you money down the road that's not in your budget, which is a problem. So let's jump into some screenshots now. We've got Santa Barbara's up. This is what their homepage looks like. In my view, nice and clean. It looks really great. And let's maybe click to the next slide. We can talk to Bob a little bit about it. So Bob, maybe tell us a little bit about the search and how, what is about the search that you thought was kind of neat?
Well, we want to make sure that it covered our area. So we gave the ability where you can check the one box there where it says Greater Santa Barbara area, and you can look at everything within our whole MLS, or fine-tune it, and you can work down. So you start with the cities, then you go down to neighborhood level, you have property types, et cetera. I mean, it's a very easy to navigate system with just check the box you want and away it goes. Gotcha. Let's go to the next slide. And tell us about this slide. This looks like really neat functionality, but tell us what you liked about this piece. Yeah, once you get into a search, like we've searched Santa Barbara, we pull up homes, now we can zoom into the map to where we want to be. You can do a radius search, polygons, you can zoom the map down to certain points and then just show me what's on that current display that I have. It's really easy for consumers from all the different perspectives of how they'd want to do it. But we really like the fact that it has an easy-to-use map search, so you can see right, where in town am I looking at? There it is, and then we have the display also of the homes with photos coming up on the left side along with it. And then on the next slide, you'll actually see that if you click on one of the little arrows there, little home displays, if we move on to the next one there, it'll immediately bring up a photo of the home, and right with it is our listing agent, and it'll actually be showing, this one isn't showing it on this display, but their phone number, their email address, everything is right there and right off that initial one. They don't have to go in to get more details to get that. And then they can click on it to get more details in the house. But they can hover over any one of those spots on the map and get this information of not only about the house, but about the agent. So your member is very front and center on this. If you look at other third-party sites, it's not nearly like that. And you mentioned the map and list. That's really a neat thing, too, because when we do research with consumers, some consumers have a clear preference for lists and some have a clear preference for map. So by doing both, you've covered the entire market. So that looks really nice. Right. Okay, let's jump to the next slide. And tell us about this one, the parcel map. What is this? Yeah, this looks really neat. Is fun. This one happens to show tax values per square foot. So you can see that as you get close to the ocean, the per square foot price and what they're paying for tax goes up because the sales price was higher when they bought it, is what it's really showing us. What was fun for me is that when this slide was given to me in the part of the presentation, as I said, I didn't even know we had that. I mean, this site is so robust, it has so much information that there's stuff down in there that I didn't even know we had. I need to spend more time myself drilling through, but it is so full of information. It's just wonderful. And if you look down below there, you'll see the base maps and overlays. There's all kinds of things, flood areas, zones, municipal boundaries, fire hazards, all kinds of things that can be really important when somebody's looking for a home and when they're trying to narrow it down to a particular neighborhood. Right, and we can pull up voting districts and things like that that our GAD can use, different kinds of things. It has all kinds of functionality. Oh, the GADs can use it. That's interesting. That's a great idea. Okay, good. Let's jump over to the next slide. Okay, yeah, and this is a really neat feature too. Again, because we do a lot of research on Wave Group, one of the things that we find is that sometimes some of the pushback you'll get when you're trying to do a site like this is, well, it's what is in it for buyer's agents. This is all about listings, and if I'm a buyer's agent, what do I get? Well, here's a perfect answer. So this one, if I'm understanding this correctly, allows you to designate your agent when you're searching. Right. So once you do that, maybe you want to talk about that and how that works with your agents. It's really neat. Yeah, it's got a login capability for the consumer. And I know a lot of consumers don't want to log in. They're just looking around, and that's fine. They don't need to. But once they've established that relationship with an agent, they can now log in. They can save their searches so they can go back and say, okay, what's new today? Because it's updated real time along with our MLS. But they can also then designate what agent they're working with. So now they come down to a listing and they click contact the agent. It will bring up their agent that they've specified as opposed to the listing agent. So it gives the consumer the ability to do that. And then the buyer's agents who don't have an IDX site of their own can now talk about, you should be using our site, or the MLS site, and you can use it in there and contact me directly, and it's a real member benefit for those buyer's agents.
Yeah, and again, if you're in a market where there's any pushback, sometimes you get it from buyer's agents. Now you have an answer that's, you know, this is just as valuable for them as it is for a listing agent.
Right.
Okay,
and
next slide.
I was going to say the consumer also feels on that they don't have to worry about, oh, okay, I want more information. Who's going to be calling me back? They know they've designated who they want to call them back.
Now, the important thing to train your agents on is that they have to call them back, because we've seen a lot of fall off on listings and leads, but that's a whole other conversation. Right. Okay, let's jump over to SF8R now. Another beautiful, clean, and great-looking site, and let's jump into what the next slide for maybe Walt. You can talk to us a little bit about the regionality of in these little local markets. Tell us about what's going on this slide.
Yeah, so if you see, you can do a search by neighborhood. So whenever you go into each of the different neighborhoods, each of the different districts, this is Noe Valley, it maps it out. When you click on it, it maps it out, shows the areas, and lists the neighborhoods right in Noe Valley. Then we give some information about Noe Valley and tell you what it is, what kind of areas there, what it's about. And then there's also below, we also put a video up of the neighborhood. We did a video of every single one of these districts so that everybody can get an idea of it. That also is what makes us unique from any of the other portals out there. Nobody has that feature to be able to look at. We actually use drones to go out and do the videos. But the idea is, again, to help the consumer focus on what the district is, what neighborhoods are in there, a little bit about them, and to give them some information before they come in to meet with the realtor, so they have a better idea and the realtor isn't trying to drive them, you know, all over the city. They're able to focus a little bit better.
Yeah, and San Francisco is unique in some respects in that each little neighborhood is really, really different from one another. It seems like it wouldn't be because it's a small market, but it really is different. Let's look at the next slide, and you can show an example of this. So this is a really neat video. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we can't play the video here, but you can all go to the site. I need to get my clicks up. You can all go to the site, and you can take a look at the video, but it just gives a nice, Ashbury Terrace, it just gives a nice little overview of what you're going to expect when you go there. So if you don't want to be in stacked housing, if you don't want to live in San Francisco, but if you don't want to be in stacked housing, you might want to look at a different area like Twin Peaks or something a little different. But every area, I mean, from the Twin Peaks area to Haight-Ashbury area are all drastically different in how they look. So the idea here was they could look at this and say, well, I might look at this area. Suddenly they see the video, they go, no, I think I'll look at a different area. So again, we're helping to, through the site, we're helping to focus the consumer down a little bit more. As an aside, after we paid and had every video done, we also allowed every single one of the members of the association to take our videos and put them on their website also.
Oh, that was great. And what do consumers think of that recent sales on the site? That's pretty neat, too, to give you a quick kind of a look at what the market looks like. Is that helpful, do you think?
Yeah, it scares the bejesus out of them. No, it is very helpful because if somebody says, well, I really like the neighborhood, and they see, that is out of my price range, I really can't go there. So again, we're helping to focus the consumer so they are educated coming in to meet with the realtors. They have a little better feel of it, and the realtor doesn't have to spend as much time educating them on everything. And we've had many realtors tell us that the consumers are coming in with printouts from the website of tax information, of the mapping, of that sort of thing.
Wow.
And have a little bit.
And was it a big deal to integrate the videos into the website, or was that something that Point 2 took care of for you?
I got to tell you, Point 2 did that in a heartbeat for us. I was amazed at their technical capabilities. They integrated it right away, got it taken care of for us. You can see how nice and seamlessly it flows when you go to the site. Yeah, I mean, they were tremendous on putting that together. Anybody else I talked to, again, there was a lot of additional cost. One, it couldn't be done. And then there's a problem. You want to make sure that the video is always streaming. You want to make sure you can see it on your mobile devices, and Point 2 did take care of that for us also.
Gotcha. And tell us about the recent listings. That's kind of a neat feature too. This is something else that looks like you feature on your site.
Right. We try to make sure that, and again, the average time on the market for all properties is 31 days. I can tell you that in the Castro neighborhood, the average time on the market is probably 2 weeks. So wow. The faster you can get listings up, and the faster you can get information. Now, and again, a lot of the portals out there, we don't syndicate to the portals. We allow members to syndicate the properties out if they want to, but we don't have an agreement we syndicate anywhere. So we know that our site is the only one that sometimes for 48 hours is going to be the only one that has the listings up on it until the member goes ahead and decides they want to syndicate. But as soon as it's put in our MLS, it appears on the on our website. And again, it's given the members a nice advantage to be able to get the information out there quickly.
Gotcha. So yeah, so this is a great way. This is exactly what consumers are talking about. They like the freshness and they like the comprehensiveness. And so these, having the recent sales, having recent listings, all things that reinforce what consumers are looking for. Okay, next slide.
But again, the other thing that we do, you can search for agents. You can find your agents on here, or you can search by a particular agent that you might want. We don't, again, the beauty of it is only the listing agent will come up on the next to their picture. But when you do a search, and again, this is for why the buyer's agents are also happy with it. You can search for a realtor. You can search for different people. You don't have to go with the listing agent. But we're not putting pictures of other people up next to them on the site.
But if this is a very real need that consumers talk about all the time. So if I want to buy in Presidio Heights, I want to work with someone that knows Presidio Heights. If I click on that, it's going to show me everyone that's done business there or that is focusing on Presidio Heights.
Absolutely. So that's the whole idea that members, the consumer, want to be able to have speed, convenience, and choice. Our site is rapidly updated. They have the convenience of having it up on all their mobile platforms, whatever they want to use. And we're giving them the choice to be able to search for agents in an area and be able to interview a few people. But now they can interview a few people based on some knowledge they have of the individual areas.
Perfect. Okay, great. Next slide. All right, so now here's another really important point, and we just got a question about how do these sites rank. So, Walt, maybe you can talk to us a little bit about the traffic and leads that come in. What kind of data are you getting from Point 2, and maybe tell us a little bit about ListTrack and what that does for you to help you understand the impact that these sites are having for you?
Well, and again, there's a couple things that you want to do here. You want to make sure that whenever you're making changes or doing anything, you want to see the impact those changes or anything has on your activity and on the site and on your unique visitors and that sort of thing. Point 2 is able to give us tremendous information on unique visitors, page views, visits, that sort of thing. I can tell you that from January 31st of 2014, we had 18,000 unique visitors. And August 31st, 2014, I had 59,000 unique visitors. So
wow.
Traffic is tremendously up. Went from 135,000 page views in January to 222,000 page views in August. So being able to get that information. ListTrack is a new company out of the Rancho Bernardo area in California. The metrics they provide and what they're able to do, and they can do it for all the different portals, it's pretty tremendous because they give us a report. Every Monday I get a report from ListTrack, show me the traffic, show me what's been going on, show me what's happening. And I can do something with it or I don't have to. But I think it's just it's another feature that Point 2 is offering that I think is unique in the service because I'd like to sell some advertising too at some point. God willing, I keep my board of supervisors out of anything for the city, but there's the opportunity. If you're starting to get up to 222,000 page views and 59,000 unique visitors, now you're starting to get into be some numbers where advertising might start being a possibility.
Well, and just to be really clear about ListTrack too, because it's really neat. What this is really giving you guys is giving you traffic from your site, but ListTrack also can give you the opportunity to share the impressions and exposure that you're giving with your brokers. Many of you may be familiar with HAR. It's kind of the poster child for this concept. One of their most important things that they do is every single month they push out a report to their agents and brokers telling them the amount of listings and lead exposure that they have been given from the site. And that's exactly what this can do for you as well. And again, it's part of the system. And it's free of charge. So that's, to me, as Marilyn talking, not as Point 2 or anybody on the call, that's one of the most important things you need to think about is how do you take credit for it? Because if you don't take credit for it, nobody understands the relevance and value that you're creating for your members and subscribers. So it's really important. And to my knowledge, that's Point 2 is the only system-wide integration of ListTrack to date. And then maybe they'll be doing more, but to date, I think it's the only place you can get it, without even any extra work. Okay, next one. Okay, now we're going to go over to Lehigh Valley, moving over to the East Coast, and maybe flip to the next slide and we can ask Ryan some questions. So Ryan, tell us about this whole the widget concept and the way that you've implemented your system, which is a little different than the way others have done it.
Right. So one thing that was really important to us was to have the starting entry point for consumers to continue to be at our existing consumer website. We have a consumer website, and we get a very good amount of traffic there. It includes resources that are available to consumers, including information about the importance of using a realtor, the market updates, and we also, as you can see on the top of the screen, we provide advertising opportunities for local companies, local sponsors. So we wanted the consumer to start on our website and be taken to the portal that we've seen in the previous slides, and Point2 was able to accommodate that for us. So this is just a screenshot of what our updated consumer site is going to look like very shortly. But what you want to focus on here is that middle box where the Find a Home for Sale with the search button. That box itself, Point2 developed for us to use, whereas normally you would see that on the home page of the Point2 portal. We were able to take that, put it onto our consumer site, so we will drive consumers to start the search process on our consumer site, drive up web traffic, adds value for our sponsors, again, sort of monetizes the activity, and once they click that search button, they'll be redirected to the portal. The default page will be the map search page that we saw in some of the previous slides. So this is really important to us. The other element of this was that we also wanted it to be responsive, so that if a consumer starts on their computer, it'll look just as good on their mobile device, just as good on their iPad, and that widget is actually responsive. It's mobile friendly, so that it automatically responds and readjusts itself to be on the different kind of platforms. So this is kind of just a rendering of it, but how it actually looks in person is a little bit different, more streamlined, and even better than what you're seeing on the screen.
Well, we had one question that people said, are these sites mobile friendly regardless of the MLS system used? And the answer is absolutely yes from what we're seeing here, right? You don't have to connect this back to your MLS. You can use any MLS system and still have this kind of flexibility that you're talking about, correct?
Yes. I mean, that's just the MLS system is just a matter of how the data gets from the MLS software to Point2, but on the front end, Point2 handles the mobile web, mobile-ready responsive web design.
And I think it's worth underlining what you just said, too, that sometimes these initiatives go sideways because there may be a current website that the association has in place, the MLS has in place, and while the property search is a key component of it, there's still a lot of other parts of it that would have to be rebuilt. What you did is you basically said, I'm not going to rebuild any of that. I'm just going to take the consumer search piece, and reinvent that by using this widget, right? So you didn't have to reinvent your whole web presence, just that one piece.
Exactly. It was as simple as getting code, web code from Point2, sharing that with our IEC vendor, and they simply inputted it onto the site, and voila, it's there. The search bar is there.
Awesome. Okay, good. Next slide. All right. So I just want to give you some key takeaways, and then we're going to open it up for questions. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to write them in the question box on the right-hand side of your screen, and we'll answer them. So, here's just the quickie. So consumer research portals generally are really good at generating quality leads for your members. It's one of the most important things that an association and MLS can do is actually help generate business. And so it's, the reason why when we work with any of the MLS public site, opportunities, that's what we always see. And again, a really important point to underline is that they don't compete, they actually complement broker websites. So they're intended for when a consumer's in a different part of the search process, when they're really in their research phase, and they want to have neighborhood information. They want to kind of look around before they decide where they want to go. That's really what these are designed for, and it's just a great way to work in addition to what brokers do. They're really in combination with one another. And consumer portals don't have to be costly, and Point2 is very humble about this, but these are free, just to let you guys know. It's really, really not costly when it's free. And the listing data featured on these, of course, comes from the MLS, which, of course, you can take credit for. So that's, that's the most important thing here is that every agent and every broker in your marketplace is contributing to the greater good for their local customer. And that's, really what these are all about. So let's maybe jump over and we can take some questions now. So one of the questions was about, let me go back up here. Can the MLS choose their ad placement? So we didn't really talk a lot about the ads on this, but I believe, Ryan, that you're going to be doing some work with the ad section, and Walt, I think you do too. So maybe if you could jump in and let us know about that or how that works.
Sure. Go ahead, Walt. Do you want to take it?
No, you go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, on the portal itself, where the ads are actually located is static, as far as I can tell. You don't necessarily get to choose where those go, but you do have to a certain degree control over what actually goes there. So you can work with Point 2 directly to say, we don't want advertisements for guns and alcohol or certain limitations. No brokerages. So you can work with Point 2 to limit that. But in terms of where the ads are located, I believe those are pretty static. There's a bar on the top, there's a box on the side, a bar on the bottom. Now what we did was we took the widget, started on our website, so that part is customized specifically to us, but we developed that. That's unrelated to Point 2. But on the portal itself, I believe those are static.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, that's correct. The other thing that we did is we identified immediately who we didn't want as advertisers and also who we didn't want linking with us. Because there's a lot of different places around here that would want to link with us and get the information, and you kind of start losing control of your data. So it's really important to make sure that you're very specific with who can link, who you want to be able to advertise, and who you don't. And again, yeah, you're pretty static on where the advertisements are placed, but you control who can advertise, who can link, and where it can go. And I think that's really critical, is maintaining control of your data.
Gotcha. Here's a question about the agent directory. Can an agent profile themselves as a specialist like new homes or investments, or it allows the public to do a specific agent match? Is that part of it? Or maybe Walt, do you want to take that one?
We don't do specific. If you type in the agent's name, you'll pull up the information on the agent.
Okay.
So you can search for a specific agent, and it depends on the keywords and how it finds somebody. I would say that if they're typing into it, that's why we have all the neighborhoods listed. So they can click on a neighborhood and find somebody that has that in their profile. But they also say, well, I don't see Bob Hartman there, and I know he's a realtor in that area, so they can also type his name in and find it too.
Got it. Okay. How do these sites rank in the cities where you guys are versus Trulia and Zillow? Do you know how well they're doing, and do you make it to the first page and things like that? Maybe Bob, do you want to start on that one?
Sure. As of right now, I'm not on the first page, but we're building. I mean, it's relatively new for us. As Walt was saying, his metrics are constantly improving. Ours are too. I can't give you the actual numbers on it, but I know that we're driving traffic. We're getting there. I need to do a better job of doing that. We're going to start doing some advertisement in the local papers and things of our site. And one thing we've also done is the local Santa Barbara paper on their real estate section has embedded our widget. So people can say, I want to search for a home at Santa Barbara News Press, and it automatically just pops them right into our site. They don't have to click on our site first. They just put in, I'm looking for these criteria, and bang, the search results from our site pop right up. So we're able to do that. One thing I want to say on advertising, too, when we're talking about that, is that we want to take care of our affiliate members. And so we went to Point 2 and said, we want a discount for them. And we want it to be enough that if somebody wants to advertise, it makes more sense for them to join us as an affiliate to get the discounted rate. And they work with us very well on that. So we can take care of our affiliate members, even though Point 2 has the responsibility of selling the ads.
Hey, I just want to add something here, because what Bob said is just what he's done is a tremendous thing. Linking up with your local paper and being able to have them put the site directly to you is a tremendous benefit to the members. Because the papers will promote it, and it's a big benefit. It's a big plus, because that's putting it right out to something that the members own and control, not sending it out to the Azulia.
Gotcha. And there's a couple of questions about SEO and ranking and things like that. So maybe let's just jump over just for a second over to a different topic. And what is it that you're doing to promote your sites in the marketplace, in addition to just having a great site? What are you doing to build traffic to it locally? Walt, what's your plan on that?
Well, we've done something that I think a lot of other people probably won't, but we've actually hired a local company to help us build the traffic. And we're actually linking to quite a few different different local blogs and different local papers and different things that help drive the traffic right back to our site. And that's been pretty good for us. The other thing that's been very helpful is all the members are promoting our site too. They're promoting our site to be the first site for everybody to initiate a search. And again, that's because of the member buy-in we had up front and going out and talking to them. And frankly, I think that's the best thing, because when a member says, hey, go to this site for your searches, you'll get all the accurate information right away and get it quicker than anywhere else. The consumer likes that.
Ryan, what are your plans are you going to be promoting the site aggressively, or just letting it build through SEO, or what's your thought?
We are. So technically we're not fully live yet. We have sort of a soft launch to our members. And we actually just recently went through a merger with another neighboring MLS and association. So this is going to be part of a rebranding of the new association. But we plan to invest a pretty substantial amount of money into basically winning those consumers back that otherwise left us when our technology was downgraded. So we're working with a professional consulting firm that's going to, give us some good advice on how best to use our resources to get the best return on our investment.
Gotcha. Well, here's a question that came out about scraping. This is a different area. There's a company that's been getting quite a bit of buzz lately called Distill Networks, and they have a whole system for preventing against data scraping. And for those that don't know what that means, it means basically sometimes other sites or other bots or people not from where you think they're from can take the data and scrape it and then put it somewhere else that wasn't authorized. Are any of you working with Distill, or have you? I hear that they do have an integration going with Point 2, but does anybody have any experience with that yet? Let's open that up. I'm not sure if any of you do. Well, are you working with them yet?
Well, we were starting to work with them. Now Point 2 is now working with them also, and we're kind of negotiating some issues there. I think Distill is a great service to do that. You know what, we try to protect it as much as we can, but you know what, as soon as you come up with one way to protect it, they come up with a new way to scrape it. So there is going to be that. If we find our photos are watermarked, so if we find that the photos are appearing somewhere that isn't authorized, we will go after them.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Go ahead, Brian.
Go ahead. And I'll just say, I mean, we haven't worked with Distill or been overly concerned with the scraping issue to this point, but I can say that this is something that Point 2 is willing to work with you on to make sure that there's adequate protections in your agreements with Point 2, so that in the event something like that does happen, both parties are sort of covered to the extent possible if that does occur. Okay.
Here's a different question. Any information to share about MLSs? We have a consumer site completely separate from the MLS member site. The person says, I hear of some MLSs doing this instead of having one single site for consumers and broker members. Bob, you want to take that one?
Sure. I'm not sure exactly what you're saying, because we clearly have a completely different site. I mean, this is a consumer site, the Point 2 site. We then have our own MLS site that is just for our members. So the data comes from our MLS, but this is a completely separate site that goes out to the consumers.
Marilyn, I can speak to that.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Ryan.
It's Ryan. I think I could speak to that, because that's actually a direction that we're going in. Currently, Point 2 aside, we have a member site and we have a consumer site. We are, as part of our rebranding, turning it all into one site. We want the consumer and the member to start on the same page, which is the screenshot you saw earlier. So the consumer is going to come to this site to start searching for a home and connect with a realtor. A realtor is going to come to this site so that they can log into the MLS, they can go pay their dues, they can hear about membership events. So we are moving in that direction. We'll have one domain, and that's going to be part of our marketing plan.
Let me follow on with what Ryan just said. The same thing we've done. All our members go to the sfrealtors.com page, and then if they're a member, they can click on the link. It'll take them right to our homepage, then our member page. And anybody can go and look at that and see exactly what our member page looks like just by clicking on the link. You can't get into some of the metrics and all the other stuff because you have to be a member to do that. But the whole idea is only have one way to get into your association site and the consumer site, and everybody just goes through that one way. It really helps on the promotions and everything. You can create shortcuts. So if you do, instead of sfrealtors.com, if you do my.sfrealtors.com, it'll take you right to our member page. But then they can link to the MLS, they can do whatever, but they still can link to the MLS without going there. They can still use their MLS access. But to us, it was a very convenient way, and we carried the same look and feel over to our member page also.
Gotcha. And I would highly would highly recommend that the way that these guys are recommending that you do it, that's really important because you're going to get SEO credit for being able to do that. So SEO engines, and they don't recognize the difference between agent traffic and consumer traffic. And so that's going to help you when you're trying to get to that front page. The more traffic that goes through one URL, the better off you're going to be. Okay, one more quick question, then we'll let everybody run. What are the social media features of the sites? Can consumers share listings that they like via social media? Can they pin listings to Pinterest, et cetera, et cetera? Maybe Ryan, if you want to take that one.
Yes, they can. And if you were to look back at the screenshots, you'd probably see that directly under the listings. There's the typical social media links that you can click to share on social media. So it's very easily promoted. From the agent standpoint, they benefit from having the consumer share it with their friends and family. From the friends and family, for the consumer benefit, they get to share and promote and get feedback on properties that they're looking at. So yes, it's very easily shared on social media.
Gotcha. And the question is, point 2 of searches features views specific to commercial. Can you add commercials data to these sites if you want to, Walt?
Yes, you can. We've been talking about that. The biggest issue with commercial is that a lot of the people aren't members of the association. They're not members of the MLS, and there's a lot of issues with commercial. But yeah, we're looking at actually setting up a commercial section of it, also expanding our rental section, and doing a couple other things too. I think rentals is a big thing that everybody should be taking a look at. I think you get a lot of traffic on rentals in your areas, and again, because this is not tied into the MLS. This is a separate consumer portal. You have different rules and things. It's just a matter of how do you aggregate the data. So that's what we're looking at right now.
Okay, and if you look on the screen, you'll see that point 2 has some webinars to actually do deeper demos on the sites that we just got a little sneak peek of today, coming up on Thursday this week, Tuesday next week, and then Thursday and a couple of weeks after that. So if you wanted to learn more about them, I'm sure you could go to MLS Consumer Portal and register for any of those, or just write to feedback at point 2, and they'll be glad to help you with it out. And I think that's where we are. We're at the top of the hour, so I appreciate all of the people that were on the call today. Thank you so much for all of your great insight. Hope it was helpful to the audience. And, of course, thank you for all the people that participated and watched the session today. We really appreciate that, too. And tune in soon to RE Technology for more great RE Tech webinars like this one. Thank you very much. Have a great day.